And away we go.
Let's go. It's time. Put on play pants.
Episode 48 of the Play Pants podcast. And away we go once again. Jason Ginty, Rod Ryan. You can catch us on YouTube as well. On YouTube. Yeah, download, but watch it, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. The more subscribers we get, the bigger our egos get. I think that's all that.
Hang on, dude. It's dark as fucking here.
Turn on some lights. Turn on some lights, and I'll keep going.
Dark.
So anyway, you can follow us on the Play Pants Pod Facebook page. We're on the Play Pants Pod Instagram page, and everyone who chimes in, we love it. You gave us a bunch of shit about our Hall & Oates list, top 5 from last episode. I mean, we got, yeah, so Rod's back. Okay, so I was just saying how we kind of got tore up a little bit on the Hall & Oates top 5 from last week. People are like, I don't know who the fuck Hall & Oates are. I hate those guys. So we went out on a limb. We did an experiment, and it was okay. You know, I don't love Hall & Oates either, but it came back. We did get some lists, so thanks for chiming in on our social media pages. Episode 48. We've got a lot to cover today. I'm excited about this one, dude. I'm fired up about today. First of all, I sent you this email late last week. I think it was on Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
And I sent you some audio, and I am not going to play this audio because I like the guy.
Ooh, yeah.
I like the guy a lot. So when you're in radio, we've been taught from day one, you can't say a lot of certain swear words on the air. You just can't. You can dance a little bit here and there. You can paint pictures, but there's just certain words you cannot say. Fuck being one of the big ones.
That's a big one.
It.
That's like almost, well, it's
big.
almost number one. It's probably 1B, 1C.
C being the number one, of course.
Ouch.
Right? Yeah. So you can't say that on the radio either, apparently. Well, so when you do the traffic and when you're driving in your car, you hear the traffic report, okay, this is fucked. The 10 is jacked up. Everything's ruined, Well, those poor traffic reporters, and I don't know how it works in your building, but we got one guy doing like 4 or 5 stations, right? And everyone does their traffic reports at different times throughout the hour. So like the news talk is doing it at 5 after. You guys might be doing it at 20 after. The soccer mom station is doing it at 1/4 after. So that one dude is going to scramble. And what he's doing is he's recording it. Hey, the I-10's messed up, blah, blah, blah. Here's the sponsor, and I'm out for this station. And then he records the next one for the next station. So those guys are really up against the clock all the time doing the traffic reports. So the dude who does it in New Orleans for our company, and I'm not going to name names and stuff, and he's a great dude. I love the guy. He's awesome. He was good on the air, all this shit, worked hard, everything. When he recorded, and you know how it is, right? When you record a commercial, I'm sure you're not nailing it every time. Most of the times you probably are because you're dropping 10s in the studio like me, but occasionally you will fumble up on the lips, right? And
yes.
You just edit it out and then you go on the air with what you've edited out. Well, he obviously got twisted in the tongue and he screwed up. So he said basically, hey, here's the sponsor, screwed up the sponsor's name, said, fucking maggot. But he didn't say maggot. He said the obvious horrible word, you know what I'm saying.
And he didn't edit it out.
He didn't edit it out. So then he just edited it, he got it, put it on the air. So it runs. So the poor girl on the air on the soccer mom station is like, okay, here's stress savers traffic for the whole family. And all you hear is, and anyway, blah, 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 fucking maggots. And he was talking about
then
himself.
He went right back into it thinking, okay, I'll just go back and cut it there. And then he went in and did the traffic afterwards. He sent it as is.
Yep.
He forgot to go back and chop that little part out. We listened to it in the studio.
Dude, it's
and we listened to it in the studio and Chili didn't quite understand. And I said, dude, you're not understanding. This went out on the air. And he said, how? I said, just like you explained it. This guy's moving 1,000,000 miles a minute. And he's in there. He's cutting something. He's cutting a piece of audio. And then he's hitting send to all the different stations when he's cutting it. Well, he's moving so fast that he made a mistake. He said what he said. And then he continued thinking, okay, I'll just go cut that out in a second. He sent it.
Yep.
Now, even if he had sent it, he could go, oh my God, don't play that. He just didn't even think about that he did that. Nope. He sent it. It got played on the air. And I'm assuming, that's not even a warning. That's not even a suspension. you got to go. Like you're fired, right? The dude got fired.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he did. And you know what? And I was thinking about it. I talked to a couple of different people in the biz, and I'm like, if he dropped the F-bomb on the classic rock station, just the F-bomb, you know what? He might have got suspended. He could have possibly maybe got away with it. But it's the other word. You just can't say that anymore on the air.
And I was going to ask you, has there been any fallout? Or is there anything that you can share that you know of? I mean, sponsors or anything like that. Even though it was an accident, people will overreact. Okay.
Correct.
It's one person. So you will get a bunch of groups. I'll leave it at that, that they will go at a radio station and they want to prove a point and they want to flex and they want to get loud because that's how it happens here.
Yep.
And the radio station acted immediately and they fired the guy that did it. That doesn't mean that groups won't be satisfied. That doesn't mean that will satisfy groups.
No, that's the problem, man. Because, obviously that went out on the soccer mom station playing, Katy Perry and the kids are in the car on the way to school. And this happened in the morning. It's like, oh, God, it couldn't have happened at a worst possible time on the worst possible station for that sort of situation to happen.
What time of day did it air?
It was in morning drive, like when you're on. Like,
good Lord.
It couldn't have been. I mean, the poor guy, God love the poor guy, man. But you know what? A mistake. And I am always editing all the time. I'll chop out, if I screw up, I'll just be like, oh, shit. Oh, damn it. I've been very careful over the years not to ever put anything absolutely horrendous on tape or on digital editing, because if somehow that gets on the air, man, and it might not be your fault, you may be moving 100 miles an hour and you say, hey, dude, can you get that for me? Put that on the air. Well, then guess what? They don't chop out the wrong thing or whatever happens. Mistakes can be made. And I'm sure people over the years who listen to the radio a lot, you've heard some crazy shit on the air. That brings me to my question. Rod Ryan.
I hate talking about this because
in your 200 years of radio,
it seems like now I'm bringing it up.
I know.
It's going to happen. It's one of those things.
It's made me triple check, which you're supposed to do anyway, but nobody does. You're supposed to triple check everything. And I have become but
I'm not recording. I'm running live.
Right.
But we're running in delay. That's a very hard thing to explain to people, which I guess we're going to have to get into that. So your question is what? Have I sworn on the air?
Have you done it and not even realize it? Because I know that I've done it and not even realize I did it. And people will tell me later. I'm like, I did? Oh, shit. And it's too late.
I've done it once or twice here in Houston. That's 18 years. I can't tell you exactly when, but I remember doing it in New Orleans with Spinato. And it might have been you in the studio, but we're just talking. And what happens is, we start getting engrossed in conversations like we do here on the morning show. We just start talking. And then all of a sudden you're just talking to your buddies now and you're getting involved in the discussion. You always have an awareness that you're on the air. That never goes away. But sometimes you just get so comfortable. And I remember talking to Spinato on the air and and I said, Spinato, you're a guy that, you've taken some shit in your life, but blah, 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 blah. And I just went and I saw everybody's eyes open up. And I just remember him. I remember his eyes opening up. And this is where it comes into talking about what a digital delay is. So I screw up. I say the S word. That's the one I remember specifically. So I'm running the board and there's a rack of a bunch of equipment here, and there's a button I can press and it will take me back in time. Meaning the radio station is holding back about 20 seconds of audio. It's really hard. It's a mind F to try to think about. But when you're hearing the radio, it's delayed about 20 seconds.
Right.
And now with the digital delay, it even adds more than that. But I can control 20 seconds. So I have enough time to say, okay, Spinato, you're a guy that takes some shit. Oh, damn, that's bad. Okay, dump it. Boom. There's plenty of time. You just have to get over there and do it. 20 seconds is really a lot of time.
Right.
The problem when dumping is when you dump and you're talking now, it sounds weird to the listener. You can either kind of tell them, see, what happens is I will tell our audience what exactly happened. I'm running the fresh out of bed head to head, and occasionally somebody will swear. Occasionally somebody will swear when they get through for Open Phones Friday, and I'll dump them. I'll get them off the air, and then I'll explain to the audience, okay, that because there's this weird jump in time, it just sounds like a skip in the record.
Right.
Somebody will be talking, and then boom, a whole nother idea is happening, and it really is, you lose 10 seconds of time. And I'll explain it to the audience 9 times out of 10. So we have things to prevent us from having this happen. I run on a 20-second delay in the morning. I can hit it once. It'll knock off 10 seconds. So it doesn't take me to live. If I hit it again, it takes me live. Now there's no net.
Right.
So do you remember the fighter Kimbo Slice?
Mm-hmm.
He was that backyard. He had a short career in UFC. He passed away, but he was this bald guy, this crazy big, huge guy, this internet sensation. He started out doing these backyard fights. Well, he did work his way up to the UFC, and he came in, and I told him right out of the bat, I go, bro, we're live, no swearing. Okay. So he's talking, and he's really laid back. It's not always the guys that are hyper that are going to swear. It's the dudes that are mellow, and it's just the chill dudes. And he's super chill. And I'm asking him a question. He goes, yeah, but this fucking brother, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you can't swear. Boom. Now I'm down. So it knocks 10 seconds off. I'm like, bro, you cannot swear. We're live. He goes, oh shit. I'm sorry, man. Dude, you cannot swear. I got to hit it again. Knocks me down the last 10 seconds that I have as my safety net. Now I'm running raw dog with Kimbo Slice. I go, bro, we are live. I love you. You absolutely don't say anything. You cannot swear moving forward, because what happens is that delay will start to build up a little bit, but I'm raw with him. And I just said, don't do it again. And he did.
Of course he did.
And he did. And I had to apologize. And I said, all right, dude, thanks, man. Thanks for coming in. I had to kind of cut the interview short. I'm like, I get it. Some of these guys, they do a lot of podcasts now. They do a lot of XM Sirius satellite radio. Right. They're in a lot of forums where they can say what they want. Some guys are just not meant to be on the radio in the morning. And he was one of them that I just could not corral.
But I remember, like, we would get, you know, we'd have guests in the studio when I was doing the show with you in New Orleans, and people would say, hey, you guys running a delay. I'm like, yeah, we run a delay. The second we start ramping up the delay around 5:30 before the show goes on. So we've got time to get it locked and loaded before we even go on the air. And they're like, well, why do you run a delay like that? I said, well, for callers. And I said, but mostly for us. I said, because we do get comfortable in there and we'll start just talking. And I remember going home after a show one time, and my wife is like, dude, did you know you said shit on the air today and nobody caught it? I go, I did. She goes, yeah, nobody caught it because you guys are so relaxed and you're just talking, you're just flowing in there. She's like, nobody said a word. You just kept moving. I'm like, really? I go, are you sure? She's like, yeah. And then somebody else called me, go, dude, you said shit this morning. I'm like, oh my God, I did.
Wow. Well, I mean, with social media, there's too many receipts now. Right. Because right now, we didn't do it back then, but we podcast the show. So there's a rebroadcast of it. Yeah. So there's too many receipts, and there's just social media. There's no way that something would slip through now and we wouldn't know or hear about it. Like what you're saying, that's just like an old timey thing that I still have a hard time believing that it happened, but I guess it could have.
Possible. I mean, I don't know if it's a factor, but here's the thing too, is that like everything is recorded too. So you can just, as a program director, you can go back and go, wait, you heard what on the air? And then you can go punch it up. And next thing you know, I've got it on my desk and I can email it to everybody. That's how I got the audio, you know, from this poor guy. So it's out there. So you got to be extra, extra careful. And even when you're recording shit and putting on the air, man, you cannot miss. And boy, I tell you what, it's a wake up call for me, especially because now I triple check everything, even more so. I mean, I'm a freak as it is. Now I really check shit out.
I put Alex through the ringer. He records our promos every day. What's a promo, Rod? After the show, I go in, we go to the office, you know, eat, start figuring out what we're going to do tomorrow. And then Tessa will say, okay, what do you want me to cut for tomorrow? And I'll tell her, and then I'll go in there and I'll cut something. And it's something that runs later on in the day. It says, hey, It's your brother Rod. I'll give you an instance. Hey, what's up? It's your brother Rod. Join us on Fixtagram Thursday. It's also Throwback Thursday. And we're also going to give you a chance to win tickets here. So make sure you tune in. Don't miss it. Okay. That's a promo for the next day. I'll go in there and I'll screw up 3 or 4 times. And I will say the nastiest, moldy dick cheese. I mean, if I screw up, I'll be like, moldy dick cheese, damn it. And Alex just stops it right there, erases, and goes back. I say horrible things in the studio, horrible things. Yeah. And he just has to erase. That dude could have gotten me fired 8 years ago, and then 7 years ago, and then 6, then 5, then 4, then 3. It's fun. He laughs his ass off in there because I mean, the thing's running, and we're just having so much fun in there.
Right,
cutting a 15-second promo, and sometimes I'm in there 15 minutes. We're rolling around laughing, just saying stupid shit in the mic.
But that's also carries over to the promo. Once you cut all the bad stuff out, that gives it that feeling on the air too. So, I mean,
what your guy did for the traffic was just like I did. I'm like, okay, moldy dick cheese, take 2, boom, 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 boom. Well, Alex will cut it, erase. He's really good about it. And he's got a little bit more time, and he's only doing the one station. Your guy, I don't know him, but I do give him the benefit of the doubt. I understand why he had to get fired, but he just never went back in and went and listened to it, cut it out. He just sent it out as is. I feel terrible because what we do for a living, one slip up like that, and you're out of a job, and you might be unhireable.
Because you said
not only for a long time, but maybe forever.
And that's what sucks. That's, I mean, in the real shit of it all, good dude, worked hard, did a great job, no problems.
It's a word that shouldn't be said. It's a completely, okay, I'll say it. I'll go on record as saying it. It's a completely unacceptable thing to say. Right. It was used in the past. I'm not saying that it was right, but man, that cannot air on any radio station. No, it doesn't matter. You are bringing up a great point, like specifically what station it was on. It's the Soccer Mom station. It doesn't matter if it was on a metal station. It doesn't matter if it was on a smooth jazz station. You're fired. I mean, you're fired. You're not getting out of that one. So it's inexcusable to use that word for sure. Most of the Houston audience have heard me talk about my story when we were in Buffalo and the band Cracker, the song Low was a big hit. For some reason, we were carrying their concert live on the radio station. And I was very early in my career, and I was board opping it. And the band was performing live at Impact's nightclub in Buffalo, no longer in existence.
Hard to believe.
And, you know, you would think that, listen, I'm not going into surgery, okay? You got to send a guy in there. If he's going to be doing the surgery, he's got to know what he's doing. I'm not saying that I wasn't trained, but kind of thrown to the wolves a little bit too, okay? Can you run the board? Can you do it? Maybe I lied and said I knew more than I did. Either way, I'm running the board for a band that's performing live at a club. They're saving the last song, Low, for the last song. That's going to be their encore song, the band Cracker. And they go into the song, and the lead singer starts saying the F word over and over again in the song. And the band knows they're live on the radio. The band knows that this could probably ban them from the radio station. And then our company might put a ban on them. They didn't care. They were, alternative, and they were rebels. The guy is swearing his ass off, the F word. I don't know what to do. Jason, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the speakers. I know this is bad. This is horrible. Terrible. And I don't know what to do. I'm all by myself. The hotline rings. Oh. It's Bob Richards, who was our boss at the time.
He's brutal too, man.
And I go, hello? Like, I'm super panicked. I mean, I am panicked. I go, hello? The voice on the other end of the phone. Aren't you fucking listening to this? I said, yes, I don't know what to do. He goes, get it off the fucking air now. I'm not even on the radio station yet. I'm filling in. I'm at the AM station. I'm trying to get a job at this radio station, and I'm blowing my first shot. I'm blowing it. And then I get it off the air. There's dead air. And he just goes, put put a fucking song on. I didn't know what to do, Jason. And you know how scary this guy Bob was.
He was brutal, man.
So I grab a CD because we're playing CDs back then, and I put a song on. I don't know if it's something we played. And then he kind of walked me through what to do. And somehow we got back on track because it was the last song of the band. So it was going to be ending soon. So I got to go back to the log and catch up to where we were.
Jesus.
He says, see me in my office at 10 a.m. Click. I'm like, I just started here. Like, this is my first break, and I blew it. And I blew it. So I got to go in the guy's office. The guy that was the manager of everybody, I don't know who he was. What was his name?
Shit.
What was Bill Sauer's boss?
I don't know. The GM, whoever the GM, I don't know.
Correct. He's in the room. Bob is pissed off. I sit down. He looks at me with that, that look.
Oh, God, worst.
I'm like, I'm never going to work in radio again. I think my whole career is over. Like, my career is done. No doubt about it.
Because of Cracker.
Because it's dumb Cracker and their song Low. I hate that song.
I can see why.
I fucking hate that song. He's singing like some jizz face cosmonaut and he's fucking swearing and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. So whatever, Bob looks at me and he's just, you could tell he's pissed off. The guy that's the GM, the market guy, he looks at me and all he says is, you'll never get in trouble for doing what you think is right. Well, I know that's bullshit, but I said, I appreciate that. I know he's lying to me. Right. I go, I appreciate that. He goes, what do you think? What did you want to do? I go, I wanted to take it off the air, but I'm the lowest piece of slime at this radio station. I don't know what to do. I didn't want to say, hey, listen, I'm really not prepared to do this job. I didn't want to say that. Right. I didn't want to say that I wasn't trained. I didn't want to go there. No. I just said, listen, I didn't know what to do. It was a huge mistake. It's on me. I'm thinking if I own up to it, they're going to keep me around. Right. And they didn't fire me. They just said, you're not going to get in trouble for doing the right thing. Bob goes, okay, we're done here.
Jesus Christ.
Didn't let me off the hook. He just looked at me and says, we're done here.
Yep.
I didn't know if I wasn't fired. I thought maybe that was kind of fired. He didn't say you're fired. So I thought, okay, I'm going to kind of hang out in the building some more. I'm not going to turn in my key card. And then that was it.
But see, how do you in your shoes,
retelling that story makes me sweat. My palms are sweaty. Okay. Mom's spaghetti.
So the problem is that like you got put in a position and you've been a program director before. I've been a program director. How many times you just go, okay, I need a guy in the chair to make sure the ship stays in the air. I just need to keep it flying. So
you're not training him. You're not
training,
dude.
Keep it on the air.
Don't let a band swear on the air, dude. That's the only job. Okay.
Who's thinking that's going to happen? You're thinking
push the buttons and don't let somebody swear.
Right. You've made the decision. You're going to put the band on the air. You know you're going to have some issues there. That's always a wild card. No one said, hey, dude, if they start swearing, take it down, call me, put on a CD. That would have fixed everything. But you're like, you don't have the authority to you don't know what kind of contracts are signed between the radio station and the band. You don't know what deals set up. You're just fucking pushing buttons.
I told him that. I go, guys, I'm the lowest. I think I said, I'm like, I am below pond scum here in this building. I said, I didn't feel like I had the authority to take it off the air.
Right.
So maybe they did sympathize with me. They didn't show it.
No.
And the fact that I didn't get fired, they kind of realized that, or there was just, I don't know. I really thought my career, I'm like, holy shit, I went to school for this. I went to school for this and fuck you, Cracker. Right. Okay. Right. 4 years of college. You can fuck off, Cracker and Low.
Here's Low.
Oh,
but you know what? I bet you $10, dude. I bet you right now. And I would love to talk to Bob. I bet you he got yelled at because he didn't train you, or whoever trained you got yelled at because.
Yeah.
But how are you going to train somebody for that? Somebody people got yelled at besides you because whoever trained you got yelled at, and it wasn't fucking me. I didn't train anybody.
Yeah. Ultimately it's his responsibility, even though he wasn't there. I don't know. The swearing thing, I'm telling you, can we not talk about this anymore? I'm going to be on the air tomorrow.
I know.
And I'm going to be thinking about this dumb conversation.
I know.
And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to get it in your head. Have you ever been around somebody that stutters? Okay.
Yes.
I start stuttering around them.
Yes.
Okay. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're having this discussion about swearing, I'm going to be thinking about that tomorrow. I don't want to think about it. I just want to not do it, but I'm going to be thinking about not doing it. And that's what leads me to believe that I might do it now. Damn it.
Sorry, my bad.
Plus, this topic sucks.
Plus what it does is you're not as quick. You're going to be just holding off that split.
That's what happens. You're right. You're just a little delayed. Every comeback that you have, everything that you say, there's going to be that little hesitation. That's how people get hurt, Jason. That's how people get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's my fault.
That's why you're trained in basic training to be a machine. The guy says, move out, you move out. You don't hesitate. Okay. That's how people get hurt.
So I'm looking forward to Jazz Fest. I know you're coming in that first weekend, right, Rod? You're still on the books to come into New Orleans for Jazz Fest.
I think I am. And it's got nothing to do with, I think the Chili Peppers are a great substitution for the Foo Fighters. We've talked about it quite a bit here. I don't think I think it's the best case scenario, to be honest with you. We tried to kind of play around with some other bands. Could they have gotten maybe Green Day? What would have been bigger? What would have been, the Foo Fighters? It's hard to get bigger than the Foo Fighters. I don't know that the Red Hot Chili Peppers get Foo Fighter money, but they will on that Saturday. They will. Or that Sunday. They will. Yeah, Trust me. They're doing the Jazz Fest a favor. So whatever the Foo Fighters were getting, there was a story about The Weeknd, who was feeling he was going to take over for Kanye in Coachella.
Right.
And they offered him X amount of dollars. Well, everybody talks, right? Isn't there a song that says that? Everybody talks. And The Weeknd found out that Kanye was getting 8 million. So Weeknd says, I want 8 million.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Weeknd gets that kind of cash, but he said, I'm getting 8 million for this one because I'm bailing your ass out. So he's making bank on that. But I think when somebody comes in and saves you, you got to give them that money. So
I think so.
I'm assuming that it's even money getting the Chili Peppers in there. What did you think of the substitution?
I did the same thing. I actually looked up a bunch of dates. I'm like, okay, Pearl Jam. I know they're going out. Pearl Jam would be fine. They've played before. They'd be great. They were available. And then I looked at the Chili Peppers. I thought the Chili Peppers, they would be awesome. Their tour starts a little bit later in June. They could kind of do a one-off. It's not like these guys don't know their songs. They're already rehearsing, getting ready for the tour. So that'll be fine. Chili Peppers would be great. And then I thought a wild card, which would have been great as well, is Lenny Kravitz lived here on Dauphine Street for quite a few years. He's played Jazz Fest before. He would bring that New Orleans vibe, the whole thing. He would have been a good get for that slot.
I love Lenny Kravitz. It's a downgrade. I mean, when you're talking about these bands, I'm going even, up, down. So far, you've not mentioned anybody that's up. I think Pearl Jam is even money.
Yeah.
I think Chili Peppers are even money. Lenny, downgrade. Great. New Orleans connection. He crushes it at Jazz Fest.
Right.
People would have loved the show. I would have loved to see him. I think Chili Peppers just bring that same kind of energy. I think it's the best case scenario.
It really is. It really is. Because I went around and around with a bunch of different ideas and I'm like, yeah, Green Day be cool, but do they really fit Jazz Fest? Are they at Jazz Fest yet? I don't know. Yeah, I think
Chili Peppers aren't Jazz Fest either.
No,
they're really not. But Green Day, I thought Green Day, because of the connection of them playing with U2, opening up the Superdome.
Right.
There was their kind of window into getting, okay, wait a minute, there's something here with New Orleans and this band. If you don't know, when they reopened the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina, we've talked about it on this podcast. Right. U2 and Green Day did that song, "The Saints Are Coming," and it's an amazing moment. It's an amazing video. Huge. Go look it up on YouTube. So that's where I was kind of thinking Green Day, not even looking at tour schedules or anything like that. I'm just glad that, they didn't put Jimmy Buffett in there or something, like it's even money. It's going to be great. Chili Peppers are on this world tour. And I remember when they announced their tour, we looked at it and we're like, WTF, the last show is in Dallas.
Oh,
that's it. They're not coming to Houston. I just think it's like, we got to take a break here. Right. Probably got to give John Frusciante a break. And then I'm assuming they're going to pick up. They're not going to skip us. I know you guys really kind of fight for bands. We get almost everybody. So it's a great thing for us. You can either go to Dallas or you can either go to or go to Jazz Fest. And I really sell it as, hey, go to Jazz Fest to see New Orleans or to go to see the Chili Peppers.
It's going to be great. My son is so excited. He's like, oh, the Chili Peppers playing. Holy crap. He's bummed about the Foo Fighters not playing, but he's like, okay, Chili Peppers, I can do that. I can walk around with no shirt all day because he's a big Chili Peppers fan because they never wear shirts. He's 13. He's like, I'm not wearing a shirt. I'm like, my man, all right, you go for it. You go for it, buddy. So yeah, no, that's gonna be cool on that first Sunday of Jazz Fest. I don't know, and obviously you're playing the new songs, right? You're playing one of the new single. I don't.
We're playing we're playing Black Summer, and
I don't love it. I like it.
Well, because Anthony Kiedis can't sing. I mean,
God, damn, he can't sing. God,
I mean, he just can't sing, and the more that I draw attention to it, I'm like ruining it for people. They're like, Rod, I wish you'd never brought that up. I didn't know what it was about the Chili Peppers. He can't sing. You know what? Give it away.
Great.
He nails it. Okay. He nails it. Suck my kiss. He nails it. Okay. He's great at that. When he tries to sing, it just completely collapses for me.
Yep. Yep. I don't love it.
But it's a good song. And John Frusciante is fucking a genius.
Yep.
He's not having sex with a genius. He's the genius.
Right.
He is absolutely one of the greats. I just looked it up. Give me a ballpark. And I know this is old man shit now. Our first Jazz Fest, I believe, is 96.
Would have been the spring of 97. We moved here in the fall of 96. So yeah, 97.
97 was our first Jazz Fest.
Mm-hmm.
What was the ticket price?
$25.
I was going to say 24. So we're in the ballpark.
I think
so it's either 24 or 25.
Yeah.
Gate price, $90.
This today.
Early bird ticket is 75. Advanced, which is up until before. If you buy a ticket at the gate, Jazz Fest, to my knowledge, has never sold out. I think they just keep letting people in.
Of course, yeah.
$90 for one day.
Right. Well,
now if you do a breakout of all the bands you're going to see, and I can make that $90 make sense to you by talking about all the bands that are playing and how much music you're going to see, and you can cut it up into a pie. But it's $90 to go to Jazz Fest, and we went and it was $25.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, they did a special sale last Saturday, right? Tipitina's is an old music club up on the corner of.
I saw that they were doing something.
So that's $90 at the gate. They were going to do it for $80 with no extra fees. So I'm like, well, shit, I got family coming to town. Everyone wants to go to Jazz Fest. I'm going to go stand in line. I'm buy me some damn tickets and save $10 a ticket. Shit. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I went up there Saturday morning, chilling out, hanging out with everybody in line, hearing everyone talking music. It was so cool to just hear everyone talking music, and different bands who they wanted to see.
Standing in line for a ticket. Talk about something that just doesn't happen anymore.
I'm like, what kind of fucking, what am I doing? I'm
cool though. I mean, it's cool. You're going to buy a ticket. You're standing in line. I mean, dude, you should have slept out.
No, absolutely not. So I'm standing in line, and I got there early, so I was near the front. I was like probably 20 people back. And Quint Davis, he's the guy that'll get up. He's been putting on Jazz Fest since the early 70s, right? He's one of the guys who does it. He gets up on the main stages and will introduce bands from time to time. If you've been to Jazz Fest, you've probably seen the guy. Well, he comes walking up in line, and he looks at everybody, and everybody recognizes him. Everyone starts cheering for him. Now, remember, Jazz Fest has been postponed twice. And this is a major, major festival that's been postponed twice due to COVID.
Is it 3 if you count the one that they thought they were going to pull off in October?
And maybe it is 3. I don't know. Either way.
Might be 3, dude.
Huge undertaking that's been postponed. So he gets up there and everyone's clapping. Yeah, all right, Jazz Fest. Everyone's so excited about it being back. Everyone stops clapping and yelling. He looks at everybody and he goes, it's happening. God damn it. It's happening. You could just tell he was like so like happy to see people in line, and just, it hasn't happened in so many years now. In Jazz Fest, it's like a, and I hate to compare it to this, it's like a religious experience in a way for a lot of people. You're not going just for those bands. Yeah, you're going to go see the Chili Peppers. Yeah, you're going to go see Jimmy Buffett or whoever you like to see, Lionel Richie, Black Crowes, whomever. It's just being out there, being in that area. That's like sacred ground to a lot of people, you know?
We see the same people out there for the last 25 years. I mean, you know, you go, you do a great job now. It's kind of become your thing where you go in and you kind of homestead and get set up, which is a lot of work. And, you know, we kind of learned from the generation before us. We would piggyback off to where these old school guys that have been going since the beginning of Jazz Fest. The thing about this concert is you can lay down a tarp, you can put down a blanket, you can bring chairs, and you set up shop. And what you do is you kind of like rally around the family, pocket full of shells. You get your chairs around and you just carve out your little space. So
you're hanging out.
Jason's good at it now. And I really am. I'm so thankful because I'm usually traveling a little bit lighter. I'm not on a vehicle. I don't have a vehicle. And Jason will go down. He'll drive. He's got his car. He parks, gets out all the gear, gets there early and sets up our area and then sends out a text. Okay, guys, I'm by beer stand number 16, about 20 feet from this flag.
Yep.
And we know that we're all going to kind of at some point meet there and hang out. And you're right. The bands make it great, but some of it's just background music. It's just us all hanging out together. And that's what the most important thing is. And families have been created. I mean, Henry, your son was going when he was a baby, taking naps in the middle of the day, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And to see him grow up with it, you know, and even Julia, your daughter, I remember making a decision, being with her at Jazz Fest. And she's like, okay. And she looked at me and she wanted to go one way and I wanted to go the other way. And I said, she wanted to go see Ed Sheeran.
Right.
And I wanted to go see Bon Jovi because it was MILF Central. And I said, no, there's all these MILFs over here. This is awesome. She's like, you really should come check out this Ed Sheeran guy. And I said, who the hell's Ed Sheeran? He's never going to become anything. So Julie and I, we go our separate ways and Ed Sheeran becomes Ed Sheeran. She knew. And I didn't know anything about Ed Sheeran. I'm like, I don't know, some little redhead goofball playing a ukulele. I'm going to Bon Jovi. Right. Well, you might have made a mistake on that one. She knew back then, but just these moments, and you're growing up with people and people that we have been kind of seeing and hanging out in New Orleans since we got there, like you said, 97, our first Jazz Fest. And it's just an awesome, I guess it's the only thing that would come close would be kind of when you learn to love all the people that maybe have season tickets and you see them at the games and that you don't ever see them outside of the season that you're in. You just see them at the game. There's people at Jazz Fest that I just kind of recognize and I only see at Jazz Fest. Oh yeah. No, there's people I haven't seen in 3 years because it hasn't been Jazz Fest. I'll see them and be like, hey, what's up, dude? And you're old, long lost friends. And you start, hey, how's the family? How's the kid? Where you working? All that shit right there. It's just one of those weird experiences. And it's, if the weather's decent and it's usually fairly sunny and hot, it's awesome. It's just awesome. People are smoking so much weed out there now. It's great. I don't have to do anything. I get high as a kite and I don't spend a dime. It's great. The contact high is perfect. Every now and then, because I'm not a smoker. It's just not my thing. I just don't like to smoke anything. No. But every now and then I'm sitting, I'm like, hey, that doesn't smell half bad. I don't know. I mean, it's just not my thing, but every now and then I'll get a whiff and I'm, whoa, that's not so bad. Where's that coming from? Oh yeah. No. I just wouldn't roll up on it. It makes me paranoid. I wouldn't do it anyways. Well, and it's a bad look, considering your job, nobody wants to get in trouble for that kind of shit. Somebody is going to take a picture of me smoking a doobie. Then you're in trouble. Then you're in bad trouble. Well, Rod, we're speaking of smoking weed. I threw this at you and I know it wasn't a Hall & Oates left field, but it was pretty fucking left field. Seth Rogan is turning 40. I thought he was older. Doesn't he seem like he's older? I would have thought he was a little bit older. Yes. A little bit older, not much. If you told me that he was 45, I'd be comfortable. Yeah. But 40 does seem young. He's been at this a long time. He's a talented dude. So I said, hey, I just threw it out there. I'm like, well, the Hall & Oates thing got past us somehow. So let me see if this one goes. And I said, well, for his birthday, I think his birthday's on the 15th of April. He turns 40. I said, why not go down the top 5 list of our favorite Seth Rogen movies? And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, he's got some good ones. I mean, they're all goofy and silly, mostly. He's got some good ones, though. I mean, there's some good ones. I liked doing this. I like this assignment. I didn't think I was going to like this assignment as much as I did. As I started looking at everything, the first thing I went to look at was Rotten Tomatoes, just to see, does this guy get any favorable, reviews? And it's sad that I look at that website, but I do. And he does. He's had some movies that have had some critical success. He's had some really good ones. When I went in there, it was not hard to get a top 5, but there were a couple that were bubbling under for me.
And then as I did my research, I realized there's some I haven't seen. I'm like,
I've seen a lot of his movies, but there's a couple that I haven't seen either, but I've seen a lot of his movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. Back in the day, we were all quoting all the early movies that he was in, which we'll get into that here in just a second. Rod, we do have one sponsor left.
We do.
I've heard that the Pirates have been very, very busy lately. More people from Houston coming in, seeing New Orleans. A lot of people come from Houston, man. So come on over to New Orleans if you're thinking about it. The quarter's great. The quarter's awesome right now, man. It's rolling. It's back. It is.
Well, what you're talking about is piratesofthequarter.com. It's a walking tour. And it's a walking tour that you don't stop partying. Okay. I mean, if you are going to New Orleans to party, this fits right into your jam. This fits right into your party. So you're walking around and you can drink beers in the street. You're walking around, you're listening to the pirate history that went down. There's no other tour like it in the French Quarter. Okay. Grab a drink, walk the streets in the quarter, and you're hearing these unbelievable stories of real pirates, their involvement in the history of New Orleans. And you will come away from this thing very surprised. You don't even feel like you're learning, but you are. And then the rest of the night, you're talking about, remember that thing that pirate told us? Remember? Oh my God. Because you're going to loop back around. Chances are you're going to be walking around the quarter and you're probably going to go back to something. And that's where this happened. And you're going to learn such cool shit. There's so much more to New Orleans than just Bourbon Street. There's get off of the street and have a pirate show you around, and they will tell you a little bit of the history and why New Orleans became New Orleans. So you're discovering real history of New Orleans. Details at piratesofthequarter.com and all social media at Pirates of the Quarter.
Rod, I sent this to you, but I know we weren't going to really talk about it, but I don't pay attention to that. I'm going to talk about it anyway. We've been talking, and I'll make this quick before we get into the top 5 list. Excuse me. When we talk about the early days, grunge, we've beat that horse really hard throughout this podcast, and we've talked in the past about Jane's Addiction, right? They were there before everybody else, kind of, and they just don't get all the credit as they should. I think nowadays they're getting more credit, but they were never the guys. It was Nirvana, it was Pearl Jam, it was Alice in Chains, it was Soundgarden. Jane's Addiction doesn't get the credit. So I started thinking about other bands, and somebody was blasting the shit out of The Cult the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, I haven't heard that in a while. And then I was like, wait a minute, The Cult, they've kind of slipped through the cracks as well, because they were like a late 80s band, snuck into the early 90s, didn't get a ton of airplay on the radio, though. How often do you play The Cult, really, on the radio?
Just Throwback Thursday. That's it. I mean, once in a while, I'll we'll get, geez, I don't even know.
Love Removal Machine.
Firewoman. You know what? To be honest with you, Firewoman or She Sells Sanctuary.
Yep.
That's it. If I'm doing a Throwback Thursday feature, there's really, I mean, what else would you really argue?
There's not a whole lot.
I'm not saying that I don't love the whole Electric album. I love the whole Love album.
Yeah.
But those are the 2 songs that if anyone's going to vote for something, and they've won in the past, but not always, though. It's not a slam dunk.
It's just weird. It's one of those bands that I was thinking about the other day. I'm like, damn it, man. They just always fell through and great live. They opened for Guns N' Roses at the Dome here a few years ago when the Guns N' Roses tour got going. And I've seen The Cult a few times, and I forgot. I was like, okay, The Cult, they've been around for a while now. Are they going to be any good? And they're playing the huge stadium, and they're opening for Guns N' Roses. They were great. They were fucking great, dude. The Cult is just one of those bands that just kind of slips through the cracks all the time, at least in my world, man. It's weird. And I don't think they're Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band or anything like that, but it's just one of those bands that just seems to slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? So
The Cult Electric came out my senior year, 1987. So by the time I come around, so that album comes out in 87. and I get it right away. My sister, again, I got to give Sue credit. My sister found all the music first, all of it. She probably had the Love album and she was listening to Love, and I probably like, okay. Electric got me in. And then I went back and then I absolutely worshipped the Love album. But I really came on board on that Electric album. That album comes out in 87. By the time I'm graduating and having my graduation party, me, Tom Morris, we're playing Wildflower in our garage. Our band played my graduation party. It's like, if you're coming to my graduation party, my band's playing.
So you sit through that.
I specifically remember playing some cult songs for sure. Went around and talked to all the neighbors, said, hey man, my band's going to play in the garage. Is this going to be a problem? You're right. Jane's Addiction is a step above.
Sure.
Jane's Addiction, I always give credit and I say that they were the spark, and then Nirvana blew the whole thing up. But Jane's Addiction, I think, is responsible for so much. But I think the cult needs to be mentioned. I really do. I think the cult needs to be mentioned. But then you got to start looking at how long the Chili Peppers been doing it.
Forever. Chili
Peppers were doing that stuff. You know, I mean.
Yeah, they were out there at the same time.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out right when Nevermind came out. They've got 3 albums before that, that people knew. And then Fishbone, you got to mention when you talk about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But yeah, the cult, I have no problem at all giving them their due, man. They were, those first 3-4 albums were just amazing.
Yeah.
It was, so 85 is Love, 87 is Electric, 89 Sonic Temple, great album. That's where Firewoman is.
Yep.
Ceremony was good. And then they just started churning out okay music. To the point where there were albums that I still probably don't own. I'm looking at this right now and I'm like, yeah, I don't have all these. I don't have them all. But you're right. They came around. We had them on festivals. They would play. They were accessible. The lead singer was a little crusty, but let me tell you, Billy, the guitar player, he was accessible.
Right.
He was overly accessible. One of these days, I'll tell you kids about me, a program director of mine, going out all night to a strip joint with that guy. Ooh. Awesome dude.
Maybe that's a different day.
Awesome dude. Yeah, they were fun. Don't forget Matt Sorum was in that band for a while.
I know. And now he's in, Guns N' Roses and then Velvet Revolver. How crazy is that, right?
Yeah, he was in the cult for a while.
Yeah, I just happened to hear the cult blasted the other day. I'm like, oh shit, you just forgot about that band. So yeah, let us know what your cult songs are. I wasn't going to do top 5 with that. Maybe we could do that another time. Seth Rogan, he writes a lot of the movies and then he puts himself in his own damn movies. He is very good with dialogue.
Evan Goldberg, I think, is his partner.
So these two guys, and this is why I love Seth. Okay, you don't have to love all his movies, and I don't love all his movies. I love him because he just seems like a regular guy, and he sits down now out in Hollywood. He's got an office with his Goldberg, his buddy, and they just throw ideas around and they come up with these movies, and they've been doing it for years, right? It gives a guy like me hope, like, hey, I could do that. If he could do it, I could do it. Now he's got way more talent than me, so I can never do it. But you hear him, if you watch interviews with Seth, he talks about this. He's like, yeah, we just put all kinds of ideas up on the walls. And then, maybe 5 years from now, we got a movie out of it. And we're always throwing ideas around and we just keep working all these different ideas and we get movies out of these ideas and they actually work. And to hear him explain like that, I'm just like, that's just a regular dude. You don't feel like there's anything special about him, I mean, there is obviously, but you don't feel that way. He doesn't feel like a movie star,
Right. And sometimes I don't gravitate towards weed humor. No, it's not my first thing because I'm not involved in it. So it's not that I don't get the references, but I just don't think they're as funny as everyone else. I just think it's okay. I just feel like it's a crutch. It's just like when a Hispanic comedian, all he talks about is being Hispanic. Right. When a black guy comedian only talks about being black. It's just, you got to do more. And he has eventually done more, but when it's all just weed, it's not as appealing to me personally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, it makes perfect sense. I don't think I put Pineapple Express on my.
I did for sure. I did for sure.
I can't do the weed humor either. I just can't get into it.
I mean, Cheech and Chong was great, and
no point.
It's just when if it's the only thing you got going on. I find that I don't like people that only have one thing going on. If you're a fucking craft beer snob and that's all you want to talk about, I'm not interested in you. All right. If all you do is, this one thing, you gotta do other things for me, I guess, for me to be interested in you.
Yeah. All I do is
I don't know why I even hang out with you. What do you do?
Nothing.
What do you do? Why would I even talk to you? Why do I talk to you every week for an hour and a half?
I do radio and then I do a podcast. Kind of the same thing. Dude, you might want to rethink your associations. Why don't you go first so I can shit on your list? How about that?
Okay.
Top 5 favorite Seth Rogen movies. All right. This is going to be good.
All right. My favorite. Pineapple Express came in at number 5.
Okay. It did. Even though that's a big weed movie.
It's all weed. It's all weed. But him and James Franco are great together. Right. I kind of thought that maybe I should go back and watch Freaks and Geeks. And that's where the whole Judd Apatow thing happened. And that's where all these people started hanging out and they were young. It was like a high school type of show that I didn't watch. People said it was brilliant. It was only around for a couple of years. There was that one. Then there was one that, 30 Seconds to Mars. He was on one. There was just 90210. Yeah. There was a million of those shows. And Freaks and Geeks just got left in the dust. But apparently it's supposed to be pretty brilliant. And everybody from that show went on to do big things. Mm-hmm. So there is something pretty magical about James Franco and him working together. They are pretty great. Right. And one of my all-time favorite guys is Danny McBride. So he's in it. It's great. I do love the movie, and I know it's all about weed. That comes in at my number 5. My number 4 is 40-Year-Old Virgin, because he's not in it that much. And I love that movie. It might be higher up on a Steve Carell list. Does that make sense? Yeah. But as a Seth Rogen movie, he's in it a lot. It's certainly not his movie. It's Steve Carell's movie, but he's good in it. And that might be the first time. I don't have these years written down. 2005. Is that the first time I saw Seth Rogen? I'm pretty sure it is, because that was like the first one you saw, because Knocked Up was in 2007. And then he just took off after that. Yeah. That was our first introduction that you really got to see him. If you didn't watch Freaks and Geeks, and I don't think it was, maybe he's done some other things, but that is my first memory of him. And I thought he was funny in it. And that was really an introduction to how it was going to be with him. Right. You know that those scenes, they just rolled the camera, and then they just let those guys bounce lines around. Right. And if you go back and watch that, the whole thing where they're sitting playing video games and they're just ping ponging back and forth. The director just said, go. Yep. Just go ahead and have fun with it. And 40-Year-Old Virgin's a fucking great movie. It might be one of Steve Carell's top 3. It is number 4 on my Seth Rogen list. I like it. I like it a lot. And Paul Rudd, it's this whole other rat pack that they've created, and it's going to come into play for my number 1 movie for sure. All right. So 4 is 40-Year-Old Virgin. 3 is Knocked Up, again with Paul Rudd. Yep. But Jonah Hill is in it, and that's where we get introduced to what's his name. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Jason Segel, right? Jason Segel. That's where we get introduced to him, which I think he might have been Freaks and Geeks. Yeah, he was too. He was in there. Is that my first time seeing Jason Segel? Maybe in Knocked Up. Yeah, but I think so. Every time I talk to MrSkin.com, because I still interview that guy, MrSkin.com gets mentioned in Knocked Up because all those stoners are sitting around trying to come up with a website to get all the naked parts in the movie.
Right.
And the one guy goes, and Paul Rudd goes, oh, you mean like Mr. Skin? They didn't know there was another website out there, and they really used Mr. Skin. They didn't ask him or anything. And the real Mr. Skin said, he goes, that movie did wonders for my business.
Of course. Yeah.
Because it plays on TBS every weekend.
Oh my God.
So Knocked Up, to see him and Paul Rudd play off of each other. Do I like Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd more than I like Seth Rogen and James Franco? I think I like the James Franco duo just a little bit better.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Knocked Up at 3. Number 2, Superbad.
Superbad.
For a couple reasons. He's not in it a whole lot.
Right.
But he wrote the movie and started writing it with his writing partner when they were teenagers.
Yep.
And he was going to play himself in the movie, but obviously he's too old at that point. Look at him. Look at him, how he looks in that movie. He's one of the cops. Him and Bill Hader are the hysterical cops in the movie. But him and his writing partner, Evan Goldberg, started writing that movie when they were, I think, 13 years old. And the characters in the movie are Seth and Evan. So it's their story of their things and things that they went through in high school. It's a dialogue that is Quentin Tarantino-esque. Yep. It's Kevin Smith-esque at his finest when they're just talking.
Yeah.
And Jonah Hill, I know that he had a bit part in The 40-Year-Old Virgin because he's trying to buy something at the eBay store. But that's where he becomes Jonah Hill.
Oh, yeah. That was the movie for him.
That's where he really becomes Jonah Hill. I know he's a part of Knocked Up as well. He's one of the stoner guys that coming up with the website. But Superbad is unbelievable. It's just so unbelievable. But it's my number 2. The soundtrack to that is amazing. The music that they chose, it's so bizarre. It's psychedelic funk music all throughout the movie.
Interesting.
The soundtrack is amazing. Even the opening credits where they show them kind of dancing and stuff. It's all black era psychedelic funk. And the music is just so great. Awesome. It almost puts the movie in a different time period because the music is much older than the time that the movie is being portrayed in, but it's amazing. The number 1 movie is This Is the End. I fucking love that movie. It is so funny to me. I have probably seen that movie 20 times. I can quote almost everything from that movie. James Franco, Jonah Hill, Jay Baruchel, which is his Canadian buddy, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson.
It is funny as shit.
It's unbelievable. And again, they're just riffing. The whole movie is riffing. And then they just kept the best parts. So I went to go look it up. We had Craig Robinson on the show when they were promoting that movie. And then I remember somebody must have entered on IMDb in the fun facts section. On the Rod Ryan show in Houston, Craig Robinson said that they totally made up the whole Snickers bar scene. And I just checked to see if it's still on there. And it's still on there on the IMDb, which is funny. Crazy. I remember having Craig talking about the movie. I loved it from the second I saw it. From the second I saw the movie, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Is it silly, the premise of it and everything? Sure. But those guys hanging out reminds me of you, us, our buddies hanging out, how brutal we are on each other. And my wife got it. She said, I know why you like this movie, because this is you and your stupid friends.
Your animal friends.
and she would watch it. She would watch it in the background. And she said, oh my God, this is you and those idiots. This is so you. You guys should make a movie. That'll be for another time. We'll talk about that. Right. But yeah, This Is the End is my number 1 Seth Rogen movie. I absolutely love it. Because they all play themselves in the movie too.
Right. So it's easy.
James Franco is James Franco. Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen. Right. God damn, that movie's funny.
See, that's the problem here is that I got to go back and watch these because I've only seen that one maybe 1 or 2 times. So I got to watch it again.
I promise you I've seen that movie 20 times.
Jesus Christ.
It's so unbelievably great. And then the guests in there.
Oh, sure. Everyone's in there. It's some big Hollywood party, and there's a big pit that opens up into hell in their front.
Oh, yeah. Rihanna, and then Michael Cera. From anybody that's been in any other movies is in it for a short period of time.
Right.
Channing Tatum is in it. Danny McBride steals that movie.
Yeah.
That guy, to me, can do no wrong. He's one of those guys that's absolutely pure funny, no matter what he says, no matter what he does. I look at Danny McBride and I laugh.
Because he's such an odd dude.
When he makes his appearance in the movie, because you don't know if he's alive or not. And then when he makes his appearance, I'm trying not to ruin it, but I went to the theater to go see it at the opening of that movie. And when he makes his appearance, people were clapping. It's like, yeah. And then he's got no awareness of what's happening.
Oh, it's awesome.
It was an easy number one for me. I started number one, and then I started playing with all the other movies that he was in. So that's my top 5.
Really? Wow. This is crazy. Our lists are completely fucking different.
Really?
Way
completely different.
I mean, we had a couple. Well, all right. I'll just go through it, and I'll take shit for this one, but I don't mind. At number 5, he did, and I think he wrote it and did the whole thing. Remember the movie The Green Hornet? It's not awesome, but I like it a lot.
I thought it's like a historically Green Hornet, Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds. I thought it was historically thought of as being like a really bad bomb.
It was, but I loved it. It was funny. And the Green Hornet, whoever the dude was that played the Green Hornet, was cool. He's rich. He gets the car. He's doing all this shit.
He doesn't play the Green Hornet?
He doesn't. No.
Okay.
Or no,
I didn't see it because everybody said that it sucked.
It doesn't suck. It does not suck. The Green Hornet is pretty damn good. So that's why I put it at number 5. Because
you're low key kind of superhero nerd guy that doesn't talk about it all the time, but it does surface. It does rise to the top once in a while. And I know you watch these things with your boy.
Yeah. You got to watch that shit with your kid. But I didn't mind. It doesn't get like great Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's got a 44 from 2011. It's not bad. If it's on, watch the damn thing. It's not going to kick your ass, but it is funny. At number 4, there's this movie he did where he ends up, it's called The Long Shot from 2019. Charlize Theron. She becomes the fucking president, and he's like her speechwriter.
I saw it.
It's not great. It's not kick your ass funny, but there's some funny shit in it. I think it's because I saw it recently. Maybe that's why it's higher up on my list.
This is the problem that I had with Knocked Up. In no world does Seth Rogen hook up with Katherine Heigl. Okay. That's who he gets pregnant.
No.
But I'm like, okay, they played it off like it was a mistake and she was a little vulnerable or whatever. In no world. And I couldn't accept. No. This is why I didn't like the movie. In no way does this guy ever get Charlize Theron, who I put as one of the most beautiful creatures on the planet. I don't care how familiar you're hanging out. There's not another person on the planet. I couldn't buy them hooking up, dude. I couldn't. No. Am I jealous? I don't know. I just didn't buy them hooking up. That's why I didn't like the movie.
At number 3, they actually made a sequel to this movie, and I watched it. It wasn't as good. Number 3, Neighbors. This is where him and the wife got a kid, and they moved next door to a frat house. And it's just a fucking war between the two. And I guess, you know what? The reason I like this is because when that movie came out, I had a young kid. You know what I mean? So I kind of got the whole thing. It was like right in the perfect time period of me having a young kid, understanding, hey, you got noisy neighbors. Shut it up. I got a kid here. You know what I mean? So I think it just fit into my world. Kind of the timing was right. And it's funny as shit. They get stoned and there's weed jokes, of course.
Correct. But that's the first time that he played. Actors just naturally get older and then they take roles that are appropriate for them. And then, all of a sudden he's playing a dad.
Yeah.
And Zac Efron, right, is the guy partying next door, like the Animal House. That is a good movie. I had that bubbling under. I thought it was really, really good. There was a part 2 to that.
Yeah. They made a sequel. It wasn't as good, obviously, but it was okay. It wasn't great. It was just okay. But they, got to go make the money. That was 3. Number 2, I put Knocked Up. Okay.
I had that at number 3.
I put Knocked Up. And my number one, and I'll explain why, was 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I know it's not his movie, but it was the introduction. I remember when I watched it brand new, the first time, I'm like fucking laughing my ass off through the whole thing.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I laughed so hard, but he stuck out because it almost felt like he wasn't acting. He worked at that store. You know how like you feel like actors are acting? He didn't give you that vibe. Like he was so loose in that movie and so comfortable and just always had the right thing to say at the right time. His delivery was great and he was funny as shit. I'm like, this guy is kind of really standing out in this movie a lot. And I've loved that movie since because it was so funny. And it just seemed effortless in that film for him.
I could have had it higher up on my list. I put it where I put it for the reasons that I gave you.
Right. It's not his movie.
It is. You're right. I mean, it's an unbelievably funny movie. It was kind of the launch of that Brat Pack, that new Brat Pack of all of those guys. And yeah, it was kind of the introduction to everybody. 40-Year-Old Virgin is great. I had Neighbors Bubbling Under.
Yeah.
I had, you know what was okay, I'll tell you a disappointing movie. Because we're talking about a guy that we both apparently really like, Seth Rogen.
Absolutely.
And this other guy's come up on these past podcasts, Kevin Smith. He's our guy, man. He's our Gen X guy. Zach and Miri Make a Porno was not that good. And it's these great people that we love. And for some reason, it didn't come together. It's not a waste of time, but I expected a little bit more. I just expected a little bit more. Because it's Kevin Smith, I understand they took a chance. They should have never made that the title.
No, Jesus.
Zach and Miri Make a Porno. Number one, we know it's going to be an R rating, but there's just going to be people that are going to stay away from it.
Right.
Here's me telling Kevin Smith that you made a mistake on the title of your movie. I don't know if he'd back that up, but how did he not see that? He should have made the movie better too, because Jay's in it. You know,
it's funny. There's some funny shit.
There is.
It's just not great.
That was a disappointment. So I can't even call that bubbling under. But the other one that was bubbling under for me outside of Neighbors was The Night Before. It's a Christmas movie.
That's funny.
And it's really funny.
It's really
funny. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I believe.
It's really
and him. Funny. And I don't know who the black guy is, but he's the football player that comes back and they hang out. They're smoking weed and they're trying to get into this party. It's a Christmas movie.
Right. It's good.
It's a Christmas movie that never gets mentioned as far as new school Christmas classics, which I consider Elf, which isn't even new school, but I still, like our movies are the things that are our Christmas classics. Obviously it's way newer than that, but The Night Before, great fucking movie.
It's funny as shit. And the one that you don't even think of it as his movie is this great movie called 50-50, right? And that's where
same guy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right?
I never saw it. Oh, dude. It's funny, but it's heavy. So it's both. It's going to kick you in the ass, man. It's a really, really good movie. It is funny, but it's rough.
It wasn't worthy because it's so heavy. Why didn't it make your top 5?
I had it in there, but for some stupid reason, I wanted to put the Green Hornet in there to give it some love because I'm an idiot. So really, the Green Hornet should go in the trash and 50-50 should be in there. It's a great movie. Go watch 50-50. It's really, really good. Really good.
I just remember the scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is maybe shaving his head.
Because he's got cancer. He's like, fuck it. I'm owning this shit. Okay. And he was like super healthy guy. He was like health food guy and took care of himself. And he ends up getting cancer. So that was the big fucking fuck you to him. It's like, dude, I got cancer. So they're friends. And then they got to figure out how to handle it and deal with it and stuff. And they put humor to it because how is she supposed to deal with that situation? But 50-50,
so
very good.
I flagged that as a movie that I thought was going to come up, and then maybe people would give me shit. But I can't put a movie on the list that I hadn't seen. It's my favorites.
Right.
I didn't see that. I never saw The Interview.
No.
Remember all the controversy circulating around that? And that, again, I told you I love him and James Franco together.
Never saw
it was supposed to be out in theaters. Then they pulled it because they were getting pressure from China. And there was a lot of controversy around it. Did you ever see it?
I did not see it.
Okay. I never saw it. I mean, they pulled it from theaters and they ended up releasing it, maybe streaming Netflix or something. I flagged that I never saw it. Nobody said it was great though, from what I remember.
I've not heard.
And the other thing that I didn't see that got away from me, Sausage Party.
Didn't see it either. I was just looking at it right now. I did not see that movie. Everyone says it's hysterical. Haven't seen it.
I didn't see it. And that's kind of like a Pixar looking.
It's a cartoon, I guess.
It's a cartoon, Pixar voices. You're going to recognize everybody that we've talked about, plus Kristen Wiig. I remember her voicing something in that. I never saw it. I just never saw the movie. And I bet it's funny, but it's an R-rated cartoon and it's called Sausage Party. They're obviously playing off of the hot dog and it's probably just a bunch of dick jokes and a bunch of vegetables, but
I'm okay with that.
I want to see it. And I hadn't thought about it until you brought up this list. I've always wanted to see that movie. And I completely blocked it out of my, one of these days I'm going to get around to watching that.
Well, now you go. You got two movies to watch. You got to watch 50-50 and you got to watch Sausage Party, which I'm going to go back and watch 50-50 again. And I'm definitely going to probably punch up Sausage Party because everyone says it's funny. And it's like, well, all right, I'll see the movie from 2016. Now I'll only be a couple of years behind the time. So anyway, happy birthday, Seth Rogan, turning 40 years old. And I love the fact that he writes a lot of his own shit. And he's an artist. He's not just an actor, and that's what's cool about him. That's why I like him. And plus the whole idea of him just sitting around in his office with his buddy, they were kids when they wrote Superbad and they still work together today writing movies. How freaking cool is that? At the end of the day, that's pretty awesome.
They're kind of like an anti-Hollywood, I mean, they're just, they're regular dudes, I mean, he's A-list. He really is. He's an A-list dude, but he doesn't carry himself that way.
Doesn't give a shit. Doesn't seem like.
And that whole group is like that, I know James Franco was in trouble for a little bit there. I'm glad he kind of got out of that. All of those guys, Paul Rudd, don't sleep on that Jay Baruchel guy. He's funny. He's the little skinny guy. He's his little skinny Canadian buddy. He did a movie called She's Out of Your League or something where he ends up dating this super hot chick. He also did the movie Goon, which I think he may have been involved in. And that's that hockey movie where Stifler's the hockey player.
Right. Great movie.
And the other guy is Liev Schreiber, I think.
Yeah.
But I think Jay Baruchel is responsible for that movie. Like he might be one of those guys that writes as well. But he's a funny fucking dude. So I like that whole pack of dudes. We could do best ofs for all of those guys. I think a Paul Rudd top 5 would be good down the road. We'll find out when his birthday is. Maybe we'll pay homage to him because he's been in some good stuff.
He's funny as shit and he's unassuming in his roles. He's very mellow. So, well, Rod, any final thoughts this week? Anything? You got to wrap this up?
So only briefly mentioned on the air, we were talking about, I think I've even mentioned on this podcast before, like Hal is like my cleaner.
We talked about it last week. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I die, like Hal's the guy, like he'll know where the codes are. He'll know how to clean everything up and all of that.
Shit off here.
So piggybacking off of that, and then I don't have an emotional connection to Gilbert Gottfried passing away, but it is sad.
Right.
But it is sad because he's just this recognizable guy. I didn't put the post out like, everybody from my youth is dying. But Gilbert Gottfried has been around forever, and he's just one of these guys and funny. Right. And I saw a picture that I posted on our Rod Ryan Show Instagram, and it's Bob Saget taking a selfie with Louis Anderson and Gilbert Gottfried. It's just them three in the picture. I'm like, fuck, 2022, man. Yeah. It's terrible.
Good night.
Now I'm not paranoid and I don't live my life like this, but I want to start. And this is something that normally you make these resolutions in the beginning. I don't have a solid plan, meaning I've got a will. I've got where my money is going. I think I'm probably better situated than most as far as my planning. But if I drop dead tomorrow, I've never written down where I'm going to be buried. Jason, where are you going to be buried?
Not.
What are you going to be?
Wind. Cremated. Get me out of here. Don't make my family come visit a rock in a field with my name on it.
So, okay, now wait a minute. Who knows that? And where are there instructions to follow?
Oh, there aren't. Nobody knows this. I just said
right interesting.
Yeah, I should probably have a plan. You're right.
Okay, see what I'm saying here?
Right.
Now,
right.
If you dropped, I would be looking for a headstone or a crypt with your wife to find a place to put you.
Right.
I don't know this about you, that you want to be cremated and sprinkled. Where do you want to be sprinkled?
Don't give a shit. I'll be dead. I don't care.
Do you want to be sprinkled out at Jazz Fest? Do you want me to bring some of you out to Jazz Fest and sprinkle you on the inner, inside the track?
Yeah.
These are things that I want to have a plan.
Right.
I told the story about our friend Alberto when our buddy Brian Stager passed away. Alberto called over there to the funeral home and said, "What's the refreshment situation?" They said, "There's a drinking fountain." He said, "What?" They said, "There's a drinking fountain." He's like, "Okay, thank you." He hung up. I go, "What the hell did you just do?" He goes, "I wanted to find out what the refreshments were. I wanted to find out if I need to eat. I needed to find out what was going on." I go, "You thought there was going to be food there?" And he told me, "There's going to be food at mine." Alberto's going to have food. He's going to have a spread. He doesn't want anybody to be hungry. He wants a whole thing.
Very nice.
When George H.W. Bush passed away, I don't know if you remember, because it was a big deal here. He was on that train. He loved trains.
Oh, yeah.
And he was on that huge train, and everybody lined up around here in Houston because he got taken to A&M. He planned out the meal that they ate on that train. He planned out the route, when he wanted to go. Wow. There was a train with a glass window, and that's where his casket was. And there was somebody in there guarding it. And when the train went by, you could see it real quick.
Wow.
He planned out everything.
Shit.
I did not know that you want to be spread out. I don't know what I want. I don't even know where I'm going to be buried, if I'm going to be buried, but I will do that this year.
That's crazy.
Something about Gilbert Gottfried passing away. Our discussion last week, seeing this picture of these 3 dead comedians. I'm not freaking out, Jason. I don't want, I'm in great health. I've got my physical in, sure. Everything's fine, but I don't want to be a burden. And I want to make plans. And I think I've got great plans, but I don't have details. I want details.
Yeah.
My dad died. I told you last week, I went in, found a box of porn, got all that out of there. There was no, where's dad going to be buried? We do have, these guys didn't leave North Tonawanda. So we had an idea. We put him next to his mom, and some of that stuff was easy. It gets a little messier with us moving around.
Oh, it gets real messy. I was talking to my buddy Eric a week or so ago, and he said, I don't know how he talked about it, but his dad's pretty old and not in the best of health. And we didn't talk about that. We were just talking about, he goes, yeah, I was talking to my dad, and he was talking about plans for the end, and he's like, don't talk about that. That's freaking me out. He says, well, don't worry, man. I got a plan. He goes, I've got a plot. I know where I'm going to be buried. And he's like, what? He goes, yeah. Back in the 1970s, I bought your mother and I headstones in a cemetery. They must have been running a deal. You got a 2-for-1 deal. Because back then they were running around selling. You had door-to-door salesmen selling plots in cemeteries. Yes. He's like, he got it for like $300. He knows exactly where he's going. I'm like, what the fuck? When I went to visit years ago, I went to visit my grandmother in Florida. And she said, hey, listen, while you're here, I want to take you to the church where your grandfather's buried. I go, okay, cool. I said, that would be awesome. Let me go over there and we'll check it out. Had the wife, my son there, and we're seeing, where grandpa is. Well, right next to grandpa is another headstone with my grandmother's name on it. And I'm looking at her going, that's not weird to you? She goes, well, it was a package deal. I go, that's your fucking name on a headstone, and you're still standing here next to me looking at it. How can you even look? That would freak me out.
Yes.
What are you doing? That's insane.
It would freak me out.
I'm like, I'm losing my shit. I'm like, I got to get out of here. I can't do this. I'm like, I'm out. I can't do it. She's like, well, you save money. I'm like, I get the financial part of it. You're kind of over planning a little bit in my mind. That's a little too much. I don't want my name on something that I'm still alive for.
So,
Jeez.
you know my mom. You know how stubborn, you know how difficult she is.
Right.
At the time that her mother passed away, my grandma, they were arguing. Okay. Now, my mom and dad were not married when my dad passed away. Mom, let's take care of business here. Let's go. I want to do this now. Okay. I have the means. Let's take care of all this shit right now. Boom. Where do you want to be buried? Well, don't put me next to the old man, which is my dad. Don't put me next to the old man. I'm like, okay. I said, well, grandma's right here. No. Mom, she's dead. The fight's over. Whatever you guys were fighting about, you win.
Looks like you won.
You ready for this?
Oh, no.
My dad's over here. My grandma's over here. I counted the exact space in between. She's exactly in between on her own, not closer to my dad, not closer to my grandma. She is the exact number in the middle. And she said, okay. That's what got her to say, okay.
Well, shit.
Psycho.
Jesus. You know what? I suppose,
that's her final wishes. And then she talked about being cremated, right? And she's like, well, don't cremate me naked. I go, do you want to wear an outfit? What's she goes, I don't want that guy seeing me. She doesn't want to be cremated naked. I go, I don't know if they allow clothes in there. What are you going to wear? Some pantsuit into the burner? I don't know what you're allowed to do.
Yeah, I don't think of these things. I really don't.
Yeah, my mom does not want to be naked in front of people when she's dead. That's a thought in her head. That is a real thought. And my mom is with it. She's totally with it. Can't walk across the room, but 100% with it with her brain. Does not want to be naked in front of anybody.
Jeez. Well, you better not tell her about the autopsy then, I guess. If that's
right?
Gonna happen, holy shit, she's going to lose her mind, man. Keep my dress on when you're chopping up. You know what? I'm going to tell you what my final thought was today, Rod. You ready?
Right. Hopefully I got you thinking a little. Go ahead.
Yeah. My final thought was, hey, Rod, I'm so excited that this week we didn't talk about death, because for the last 2 episodes, all we did was talk about death, Taylor Hawkins.
And then I bring in death.
And then I'm like, fucking.
Here comes the Reaper. The Reaper. I got to bring death into this.
3 weeks in a row. Next week. Okay. We're going to work this out.
I don't know why. I don't know. What is it about you? What is it about me talking to you that makes me want to talk about death? I don't live a morose, morbid life.
No.
I'm a very happy individual. But when I talk to you, I feel like I want to get into a little death talk.
Why? Don't bring me into that shit. I
don't know. It's what you do to me. Okay.
Because every day I go, 50 now, right? 50 now. You want me to go down this road? Dropping 10s every day. You know why I'm dropping 10s every day? Because I know that the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. It's ticking for everybody, man. And every day I live, I'm like, if I don't get some cool shit done today, I'm going to be really, really angry. And I keep trying to do more and more and more every single day. Here's a problem I've learned. You get older, you run out of energy, dude. Fucking batteries die down pretty quick. It's not like the old days.
You do.
I mean, the old days, 25 years old. Holy shit, man. I'd be up for 3 days straight just doing work. Now I'm up for 7 hours. I'm like, I can take a nap. I gotta take a fucking nap. By the way, if you can get away with it, naps in the middle of the day. If you fucking can do it, I'm telling you, I highly recommend it, because occasionally I'll sneak one in for about 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes, sit in the chair, drooling on myself, wake up, and I'm back at it. So yeah, I'm pretty glad we didn't talk about dying this week, Rod. That was my final thought, which I had to scratch off because it.
Okay. Well,
all I got.
It sounds like I'm not the only one that needs to do a little planning.
Yeah, I got some planning to do. I should probably have.
Dude, I'm making a playlist. I'm doing the whole thing. I'm doing the whole thing, dude.
Go ahead.
I'm going to schedule who's talking. Okay. What do you think? This is some loosey-goosey shit?
Don't put my
I'm going to program this thing.
You tell you what, you know what's going to happen. Okay. I'm going to tell you now. Okay. I'll break it down. Since you won't be there, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. That playlist is going to be rolling, right?
You follow the instructions. You do not deviate from what I put on that piece of paper.
We won't, but we'll be motherfucking every song like we do when you're sitting next to us. We will give you so much shit. Oh, this piece of shit. Yeah, that motherfucker loved this piece of garbage. God, he loved Hall & Oates.
I got you down to sing Dust in the Wind. So start practicing.
I
close my eyes.
Oh, God.
Only for a moment, and the moment's gone.
My boy Blue.
Dust in the wind.
God damn.
Oh, oh, oh.
Jesus Christ. I guess we're done now because that's nobody else. Wiped it out. Yeah.
We can go out like that every time. I could sing a little Dust in the Wind, and then that's your cue to like, okay, that's a wrap up. Rod singing Dust in the Wind, the Will Ferrell style from Old School.
God damn. Awesome. All right. Well,
you're my boy.
Episode 48 done. That's enough. Check us out on YouTube. Watch the video version of this disaster. Subscribe, leave your comments. Give us your top 5 Seth Rogen movies. Maybe we missed some. I'm sure we did. And tell us that ours sucked. I don't care. And yeah, looking forward to next week. Episode 49. Are we gonna do something special for 50? Have you thought about this?
I haven't thought about it, but apparently I'm the only one thinking about things in the future here. So why don't you start thinking about a few things?
Well, I think you're kind of going to be here if you're coming in that first weekend. We're kind of creeping up on there. Maybe there's a way we could squeeze in a quick half-hour extra special version live in person together in the same room. Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
Let's see. That would be
the dates might work out, or at least close enough. We could cheat it a little bit. It's our damn podcast. We can get away with these things.
Okay. All right. I'm down. Don't threaten me with a bad time hanging out with you talking about death.
We should have named this Let's Talk About Death Every Week podcast. That
death
might
pants.
You know what? That might get more
time to put on your death pants with Rod and Jason.
All right, that's enough. I'm out.
All right, bye everybody. Thank you.
Let's go. It's time. Put on pants.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at PlayPantsPod.